Hello everyone, my name is Michael Curtin, and this is my presentation on avoiding climate change, how mathematics can save lives. Going into this research project, basically my question was, I was wondering how we could use mathematics to explore the issue of climate change and study it and then find ways to mitigate and map out the sources and how we can have alternatives in energy production, food production, etc. And then my working hypothesis was a vague idea of understanding that statistics and the knowledge in this area is what helps us to map out climate change and can attract public eye and opinion when they see these alarming graphs of rising temperature, and what ways we can best act in these uncertain times and all of that. This question concerned me specifically because teaching is a career that I am interested in pursuing, as my major is mathematics education. And whenever I was in mathematics classes in high school, I would notice that a lot of the students around me would be apathetic and uninterested in mathematics, always asking the teacher, like, why should I care? Why is this relevant to my life? And, you know, I was always empathetic with the teacher, and they often didn't have an answer directly to the student, but I, as a future math educator myself, wanted to pursue this question and understand an answer that I could effectively give a student if they were to ask, that would answer their question in a meaningful and effective way. The discoveries I made through my research was that SDM, or species distribution modeling, is what we use to protect biodiversity, because we want a healthy and wide array of species, whether it be animals, plants, and all that stuff in our environments to keep the globe healthy. Um, Also, optimization is a big factor in mathematical understanding and how we apply it to climate change, because not only do we analyze the data and model out the effects of climate change and rising temperature, rising sea levels, and all that, we also need to find the way that we can best act to mitigate these things and then ultimately save us time and give us time to act when we have the chance to, so that it doesn't get worse than it potentially can get, that's mapped out right now. Also game theory, because a lot of countries in like the Paris Accord and stuff, we need to have a way to make sure that we can get along and focus on this, because this is a worldwide issue and some countries will act accordingly to their own interests and not for the betterment of the planet. And we need to find out how we can best mathematically kind of make a game to understand how a country might act and what we can do to convince them and persuade them, and have like an individual body of legislation and stuff that isn't biased by any country, that can help us reach these goals and solutions of climate change. Also, I found when exploring a naysayer that statistical understanding is relevant to most average citizens, because you need to know what you're seeing in the news and the media when they have these graphs, and you need to understand and interpret what they mean. And climate change activism really starts on an individual level. You can change your diet, make sure you're conserving electricity. Um, for most people that are wealthy, you can switch to electric cars and all that stuff. And, a lot of people will think, oh, well, I'm not a CEO who owns this huge polluting factory. Really, that doesn't matter. We can all do our part. And then once we all do that, significant change is apparent. Also, visual representation, sorry, of climate change would not be possible without mathematics and statistics and data analysis and all of that. And these charts are obviously striking, and they help raise awareness. And without them, we would be clueless, really, of the effects of climate change. And if we continued on this path of polluting daily and all this stuff, what would happen and what would die out in just a short amount of time. I also prepared a poem based on my research, which goes as follows. Most people in math class always wonder, why should I really care? The answer is that mathematics protects the world that we share. Today we have large amounts of data, more than we can handle. With close analysis, there are problems we can dismantle. As climate change worsens with the world's health declining, through statistics we have studied how temperatures are rising. Once we track down all the main sources of pollution, we can find alternatives, or simply put, solutions. With mathematical models, we can clearly raise awareness and show the small time we have left to change the many careless. We use striking statistics to achieve public reaction. Through these mathematical findings, we can inspire action. Graphs can show us all of the extreme effects on weather, and through game theory, we can help countries work together. With science, technology, and engineering, mathematics blends and aids in rooting out our problems. That's why it's called STEM. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you all have a wonderful break.